So there's a way that you can kind of be with them while they're also being the teacher and giving them a little more power over their experience.
It sounds like your daughter's progressing really quickly through the content in the game. What grade level is she currently working on within Prodigy? Fourth to eighth. Holy moly. She is really making a lot of progress.
And she's only 6, so it's
That's
pretty
fantastic. Yeah,
yeah.
you've got quite the learner on your hands there, Kara.
Wonderful. Anything else on your mind? And maybe some people who are having a little bit of trouble with getting their kids motivated to start math. I don't know if I really emphasize this enough, but there is a big difference between math as a concept and taking a math test at school. And a lot of kids have started to associate the idea of taking a math test as the same as understanding the beautiful world of math and having the ability to do logic and count and things like that. And I think, there's a Maria Montessori who was a big mover and shaper in education. When she started teaching, she did something really radical, which is when she would say, "What's 2 plus 2?" For a child to start counting that on their fingers was seen as a terrible thing for them to do. And Maria Montessori saw this as completely natural. And I think it's such a great example of how we have these kind of standardized techniques that we use to teach math that many of us don't know because we didn't learn the same techniques when we were in school. And some of the natural ways that a child might learn that could be different, especially for a child who has ADHD or maybe dyscalculia and needs something more multisensory, counting on their fingers can be such a great thing. And so the more you can kind of separate math test taking to actually learning math, the better. Because these techniques are very complicated and hard to master. When I was subbing in the New York City schools, I remember I went into a second grade classroom and I just had no idea what was going on with their homework. They were learning long division, but it was just so different from the way that I learned long division that I just had no idea how to teach it. And so I just said, "Does any second grader in this room understand this?" And then I just had her go around and explain it to the other kids, student as teacher.
There's a question around how long a day would you suggest is helpful? The way that I've seen others structure their math lesson and incorporate Prodigy as well is except for words and decide on pets. Yes, they can spend some time on that. But for math lessons specifically, I think 40 minutes a day would be great. I've heard of people doing a quick, like 5-minute warm up, bit of a refresher on what you learned yesterday, a kind of ability to introduce content and do a mini lesson, and then provide time for practice and assessment on Prodigy. A lot of people also use the Prodigy assignment feature as a exit ticket. So specifically assigning an assignment on what your lesson was that day allows you to see how well have they absorbed that content and have they now mastered that content. So if you have, 10 questions to that assignment, they get 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. Okay, great. They've got it. You can move on. If not, and if they're still struggling, that might suggest that you need to spend some more time on it the following day as well before you move on to the next thing within the curriculum.
And that's so dependent on your own child. I think it's really important that you look at their rhythm. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, and you can really see when they're focused, when they're enjoying, and when they start to lose their focus and start going all over the place. So just there's no golden rule about that. And it will increase as they get older, but 40 minutes even is a lot for a little kid. Let's see, what else didn't we cover that people want to know about?
This is great feedback as well. So I appreciate all of the comments and interaction here.
The other thing I would suggest too is continuing math throughout the summer. And, even in that whole vein of it's okay to do 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, but do it every day. Do it throughout the year.
So that's interesting. What is your typical week look like? 3 days of core lessons. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a well-developed mastery-based curriculum should be able to be split up however you need because you're never going to be starting behind or ahead. You're always going to be moving forward at your own pace. Okay. What else is on people's minds? We are all yours. No question is wrong. You can also tell us things that we said that weren't helpful for you. Everyone's situation is unique, so what benefits one person might not benefit another. How are people feeling whose kids are a little bit resistant to learning math? Is there any way that we can support you better? Like, how does that resistance come up? Do you feel like you've been able to convey the point of learning math to them? Okay. Well, is there anything else on people's minds that we can help with? I think I've sent a message to all of you. So if there are follow up questions that you want to ask, I'm totally at your disposal. And a couple of you have said that you're willing to talk to Prodigy about your experience and give them some feedback on how they can make Prodigy even more amazing for homeschoolers.
Learned how to for the math game. So do you mean how to play the math game and what the different features are, Kara?
Basically, kind of like a guide for going through the math
Mhm.
game.
Choose pets, how to go through it.
How
Yeah,
do you choose
that's a
that?
good suggestion.
There's so many options.
Appreciate that feedback.
Could you give us a little overview of the English program and how people can get involved with that?
Absolutely, yeah. So, in addition to the math game, we also have a different game for English. And this is a slightly different style of game because this is more of a village builder game. So, kids come in, they have their character and they are kind of repairing various stuff within their town. And in order to do that, kids have to collect resources, and in order to collect those resources, they need energy. And as they move around and do stuff within the game, you get more energy by answering English questions. So it is a slightly different format and style of game. The reason that we incorporated two different games instead of doing both subjects in just one game in our math game was because there's different styles of games that appeal to different styles of or different types of players or students. So that might be a good way to engage your kids in the English side of the curriculum on Prodigy as well.
Mm.
Like the directed purpose of the Village Builder game. Yeah, fantastic.
Really like this, this desire that you're expressing to understand the why behind the answering of the problems and the games. And I think I will just say that I think that ChatGPT is a really good resource for this. I think, people are thinking now about like, how do you help kids and not having harmful AI or harmful, and I think really the answer is to do it with them. So if you are trying to find a real world application for learning long division or multiplication, that's a really good use case for language models. Simply ask, like, is there something about when we go about our day to day, is there some way we can bring in this principle we just learned in Prodigy? Or why are we learning the distributive property? I don't know if that's covered in Prodigy game.